Hello, everybody. So, for today's story sharing, it's going to be a bit of a sadder story. For those of you who have followed me for some time now, you know that I worked very closely with another artist way back in the past named Mika. Now, Mika and I ran a DeviantArt account together where she drew pictures and I wrote stories, and we teamed up to create really cool and awesome stories. You know, one of them is Monster Club. But before we even started with Monster Club, we had another long-running story that we both worked very closely on, and it was called I Live with a Witch. Now, what's I Live with a Witch about? The title pretty much says it all, doesn't it? Like, it's not a very creative title. It's very straightforward. The story is about a young man named Christian who ran away from home for mysterious reasons that he doesn't reveal later, and stumbles across a cottage in the middle of the woods where he meets a witch named Eva. And Eva takes him in, and she reveals to him the world of magic. It's revealed that Eva comes from an entire different dimension or different world where magic is the norm. And when you cannot perform magic well, when you're not good at magic, you get kicked out of magic school and you have to study on your own. So her father, who is very prominent in the magical community, didn't want to show off his failure of a daughter and dropped her off in the human world where she can practice in solitude. Now, a couple things about this story. You might notice, doesn't that seem a bit familiar, like a bit similar to Monster Club? And the answer to that is absolutely it is. In fact, that was one of my earliest criticisms with it, that we were just ripping off of, well, Monster Club was kind of a rip-off of I Live with a Witch. I Live with a Witch was written first, and then when we started Monster Club, it was kind of like, wait, didn't this kind of start the same? But we didn't mind, because we like that setup, the idea of the normal kid being swept up into a totally supernatural or strange world. The problem with I Live with a Witch, the other big problem with it, was that when we first started it, it was kind of it was almost like a dart throwing thing. Like, we just pick a topic and then throw a dart, you know? Like, we just say, what's the next chapter series going to be about? It's going to be about this person from Eva's past. Okay, that's cool. What's the next one going to be about? It's going to be about exploring Christian's background. Oh, okay, that works too. We never really had a solid end goal in mind, and you'll notice that's a regular problem. I come up with concepts for stories, but don't always follow them through to their natural conclusion, and I think that hurts the end product. There was a lot of crazy stuff involved, like Eva's spells going haywire, Eva trying to convince her family that Christian actually was magic, when he really wasn't. I'll never forget the ball chapter that I wrote where Christian and Eva go to this magical ball that her father is a very prominent member of, and he has to play off like he's been in the magical community all of his life when he doesn't know a thing about it. I think what I really liked about writing each chapter was the fact that Mika always had a really good piece of art to go with it. So when we broke off contact and me and Mika never talked anymore, we never finished the story. And much like some of my other stories that I did with Mika, I couldn't finish it. I just couldn't do it. Like Metamorphosis, I just couldn't finish. I tried once. I tried going back and starting from scratch, kind of rebuilding, but it just didn't work. I even had an end goal. I was even like, no, I know what I want to do. I know where I want to go. But it just didn't feel the same. I didn't have that same drive. I didn't have an artist who was willing to help me work through each chapter or help draw pictures for it, because Hannah just wasn't invested in the story. Jay and I hadn't even gotten in touch at this point. It just kind of fell by the wayside, which is very unfortunate. There were some really cool ideas, like Eva turning Christian into a cat to ride with her on her broom. That was a fun idea. Them having conversations while apple picking. I thought that was a good medium for that. One of the problems I did have was I wasn't consistent with Eva's capabilities or actions. One of the problems was that Eva, I started off with it being that she was a novice magician. She wasn't good at magic. But then as the story progressed, she gradually got better and better and better to the point that it's like, did she ever have a problem? And I should have been more consistent with that. There were a lot of problems in that early phase. Really, the story lacked focus. It lacked direction. And I realized that pretty late into it, which is a very unfortunate happenstance. It really needed more focus. And if this story is anything, it's a message on how to approach writing a story and being careful about where you keep your focus, that you have an end goal in mind, and that you focus primarily on reaching that end goal. Of course, expand your characters. Of course, build the story, but make sure that you're always working towards that end goal. I didn't even have an end goal for this story, so I think it suffered. What it really was an exercise in writing ideas, an exercise in creative topics. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but I really should have had an end in mind. Now I wouldn't be staring at the chapters later on going, man, I feel disappointed in that. But all in all, not a lot to say about this one other than kind of a kind of an opportunity that just slipped by. I realize now as I go further and further into the story sharing series, I'm talking a lot more about stories that I'm kind of disappointed in because it just didn't go anywhere. And they could have. If I'd just been smarter, if I'd worked a little harder, if things had been different, it would have come out a lot better, I feel like. But for what it is, I Live with a Witch is a good memory. It has some pain to it. It's a bittersweet memory, but it's a good memory because there were a lot of cool ideas that we tried out with it. If you want to check out what it is, you can go to the DeviantArt account and check it out. If not, well, just learn from this mistake, guys. Learn from my mistakes. Don't let my mistakes ruin your writing, you know? So that's part of the reason why I do this series, so that y'all can see my good moments, my highlights, and also my mistakes so that you don't make them. All right, guys, that about wraps up this one, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.
Raise me up so I can blow up Warlord. You raise...
It's even funnier a second time.
Wow. Good game, guys. Good fight.